Okay, sorry, Coach. No, I was saying, I was wondering, how would you describe or summarize a victory of this category? And
Victory.
then Raul Ruiz, his performance and, having to pull him out, although he probably didn't want to come out when you brought him out.
Well, the victory was a very good victory for many, many different reasons. I'm sure people will ask me a bunch of those, so I'll leave that one short. As far as Raul is concerned, goal scorers are goal scorers. They never want to come out of the game, certainly a game like this. But Raul did score his 2 goals. We talked about leaving him on the field and get a hat trick. But at the end of the day, it's a team sport. Raul is a team player. What people won't talk about, and I hope you write about this, Raul, is that, Nico, excuse me, what I hope you write about, Nico, is that Raul has been a good team guy from day one since he's been here. Yes, he scored goals, and I had a conversation with someone the other day. The timing of his goals, he's not one of those guys that scores, goals, penalties, stuff like that, goals when it's lopsided. He's scored some really important goals for this club, and he's a team guy. And so, and I'll throw one more thing on there, Nico. He actually defends really well. If you guys watch the effort that team put in for the first half, first 30 minutes, it was great. Started with Raul at the top, Nico, those guys went all the way through the team. I thought they defended really well with good energy. We pressed higher up the field. That's why we scored some of those early goals.
Thank you, Coach.
Ed Evans.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes, Jay, we can hear you.
I wanted to ask what the differences were versus the one in Florida.
The difference in this game between
Like as far as the way that they played you or why it was so easy to get the goals against them this time.
I'm not 100% clear on the question, but if you're asking me the difference between Portland and this game, it was miles different. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I meant the game against San Jose.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the game against San Jose. I thought it was a good game for us, but the difference is between the 2 games were night and day. We challenged the team to have a good response after a tough loss, and they did that. I thought the team came out, and that first 30 minutes were great. I loved everything about it, and it's certainly a positive stepping stone. San Jose is certainly a tricky opponent. It's not an easy team to play against. And so, again, it makes the 7 goals we scored even more, better. I mean, it was just even, the last goal JP that he scored was great. I mean, the build up to some of those goals were very, very good.
Casey Dunnow from Sounder at Heart.
So the attackers obviously get a ton of credit for putting up 7 goals, but it seemed like a lot of those goals started on some very incisive passing from the center backs. So was that something that you guys game planned for against San Jose? And can you talk about the passing from the center backs today?
I thought the center backs were good. That's the way San Jose plays. They, have their own sweeper back here, and they pair up man for man, so there's always one guy open. And so the trick is the starting point for our possession is always our 2 center backs plus one of our holding midfielders against their 2 forwards, against Wondolowski and Rios. So I think what happened was, they were letting one of the center backs have possession of the ball. And as our center backs were driving up the field, we worked on some, movements of, when the first guy comes, what chain reaction does that cause with the rest of the group, and who is the open man. So I think, again, credit to our team for understanding the tactics and following through and executing the tactics that we showed them on film.
Matt Pence.
Coach, no shortage of options to choose between, but did you have a favorite goal of the 7? Did you think that any one of them was particularly emblematic of how you want your team to play?
No, I thought all of them were really good, Matt. It would be unfair. You know, first goal, last goal, all of them in between. I thought there was some quality in each of the movements. I just think the team was ready to play tonight. I was most impressed with, their mentality. And it wasn't me, it wasn't the coaching staff, it was that group of players in that locker room. I could tell before the game they were ready for this game. They wanted another game. They wanted to play again to erase the sting of losing to Portland.
Sure. Thanks, Coach.
Jeremiah.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the win. What can a performance like this do for you going forward? And do you have to do anything to keep it from being, too much almost?
Well, okay. I think I know what you're asking me there, Jeremiah. You're asking me if the team is going to be full of themselves and they're not going to perform hard the next game. But I've never, ever thought that happens during the course of a regular season. Now, you could say that I have said publicly that, we had a hangover in 2017 after we won a championship, and I did discuss certain, moments, even this year where the defending champs, were we ready, that this is a dysfunctional year. But I don't think that this club has ever, I don't think that locker room has ever, said, okay, we just smashed the team and now we're so good and we're not going to try hard the next game. I don't think that's ever happened with this club. That locker room is way too experienced for that to happen.
Masvida.
Yep. Brian, if I heard you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you said you challenged the team. And I was wondering, was there any particular aspect of the game that you challenged the team, or was it, the passing, the defense, defend your title, or was it just go out there and play?
We just want to play well. Look, when you take a bad result, Maz, it's like coaches want to see a response. And we saw a response. It was that group in there that did most of it. I didn't specifically say, we need to be better here, we need to do this, we need this, we need this. I wanted the team to play well. If our team plays well, if our team plays up to our potential, we have a chance to win any game we play. It's pro sports. I gotta give some credit to Matt Culkins. I think his article today in the Times was a very good one. Look, we're not going to be perfect. There's going to be times when we, lose some games. Maybe we should have won. Blah blah blah. Maybe there's some games at Jeremiah's point that we shouldn't have won by that high score, but we did. We come out on top. It's pro sports. But the fact of the matter is I challenge them to have a good response in all the areas, and that team filled with a bunch of proud guys. You guys can see that was 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes were some of the best soccer I'd seen in a long time.
And just one last quick one. And before the goals, there was the passing and also the guys getting into space for each other. And again, I think you're talking about challenge. And what can you say about players opening space for each other to get to the passing to the goal?
I don't know. I don't know what you guys wrote about our performance in Orlando against San Jose. Some people thought we were dull and boring and couldn't pass the ball. So I'll let you guys measure the two games and figure out what we did well and what we didn't.
Thank you.
Mickey Turner.
Thanks, Coach. Congratulations on the win. Wanted to ask you about Jovan Jones, his performance, 2 goals, 2 assists. from the right wing position. I know you guys have him switching with Nuhu playing there, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on his performance today.
Again, to Jeremiah's point, we're not going to get too crazy about Jovan's playing that position. Yes, he did a good job for us in 2019. Yes, he's a talented player. Yes, he can play left back. Yes, he can play up a line. He can play left mid, right mid. He's a very talented soccer player. And sometimes games like this where the whole team is playing well, Jovan is a beneficiary because he's very technically clean. He's very talented. So tonight was a good night for him. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the whole team.
Ian Quillen from MLSsoccer.com.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Obviously you were looking for a response, but nobody expects to be up 5-0 after 33 minutes. Just what is the thought process like at that point as a manager? How do your priorities shift and where do you look to do for the last hour of the game?
Well, I think at some point we're all human beings and we all want to enjoy the moment, but the game is still going on. So Ian, it's actually a very, very, very good question because I'm going to let you guys in on a couple of insider points here. So the coaching staff was just meeting for the last 20 minutes talking about ways how we could have improved the team tonight and how we could have done things a little differently and how do we get Jovan Jones to have those type of performances again? How do we get Jordan on track? How do we work on our defending, our overall team defending? What worked in our game plan? What was it tonight that worked so well against, normally a very challenging team to play? San Jose is a very good team. Mateus is a very good coach. He has had success with that system. And why did it work tonight? So we actually, spent the last part of that game, obviously talking about who we're going to sub and do all of that. But we also wanted to make sure that our team remained disciplined, that we still played well, that we didn't disrespect our opponent in any way, because we wanted the game to just go in whatever the game was going to be like. And then afterwards, we set a high bar for ourselves here in Seattle. Certainly as a coaching staff, we set a very high bar. And I didn't like the fact that we gave up one goal. I didn't like it. So those are some of the things that we discussed after the game. Those weren't, all the, just we're chugging a bunch of beers after the game and laughing and joking. We actually were, doing our jobs and making sure that next time we go against a hard opponent that we'll be ready.
Felipe Makeda.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations for the win. I'd like to ask you about the air quality. We had a few days of very poor air quality. Did this affected the way the sound is trained, and if you were worried about tonight's game?
No, it didn't affect the way we train because look, with the games coming so close, the training has been very light, Felipe. But as a human being, and as someone who lives on this planet Earth, I think that people better take notice that climate change is happening. And if people can't see it, well, then I think they need to, they're crazy because it's happening. And so it's a sad story that you can have a massive fire on the west side of the state of Washington that affects the air quality in our town. Normally you would think about California or Eastern Washington or something like that, but it's happening closer and closer. It's happening more and more, and people need to be aware of climate change.
Thank you.
Jada, would you like to close us out here?
Yes, Coach, I wanted to see what you could tell us as far as the rest of the schedule. As far as I know, there's still nothing has been announced. So how do you kind of go from here or do you know anything and can let me know?
I know what I'm doing tomorrow, Jada. We're going to bring the guys in. We're going to bring the guys in for regen because that's part of their job. And then I'm going to give them the weekend off because they deserve it. And then we're going to come in and start training on Monday again. And we're going to prepare for whatever the schedule is. When MLS announces it, we will be ready.
So then you don't know anything as of right now?
No.